in terms of being an outsider, that is about, as bizarre a characterization of me as possible, because I'm about as much as a Malayali and an insider as anybody else. BJP is in support of an inclusive Vizhinjam port development. I want to make it very clear. We are not in support of development at any cost. It is true that certain communities have been poisoned in the head by the propaganda that we are anti some community. I would argue, I don't have any published data, that digital literacy in India actually in the last 7 to 8 years has sharply risen. No, first of all, this is not my first Lok Sabha election. It may be my first Lok Sabha election as a candidate, but I have been involved in many Lok Sabha elections for the party and for my friends for many, many years. So that is one point. Second of all, in terms of being an outsider, that is about, as bizarre a characterization of me as possible, because I'm about as much as a Malayali and an insider as anybody else. Shashi Tharoor is an incumbent MP. He's been 3 terms an MP, and when I came here on the 4th of March, I looked at this as a 3-way fight between him and Pannian Ravindran and myself. But after 20-25 days and seeing the neglect and the decline and the pure negligence in the last 10-15 years, it is no longer just an electoral contest for me. For me, this is a mission to transform Thiruvananthapuram, to take Thiruvananthapuram forward. So I am certainly not looking at it only as an election. I certainly see that there is so much of problems that have been left unattended, and there is so much of potential and opportunity for Thiruvananthapuram to move forward that has been untapped. I want to be very clear, the BJP is in support of an inclusive Vizhinjam port development. I want to make it very clear. We are not in support of development at any cost. We are not in support of development that excludes the local community and prejudices the local community. We are very clear on that fact. But the issue of coastal Kerala and coastal Thiruvananthapuram is more than just about Vizhinjam. It is to do with all the way from Neyatingara, all the way up to Thiruvananthapuram, Thiruvananthapuram West. The issues that include erosion of the coastline, loss of livelihoods for fishermen as a consequence of the erosion, the loss of any replacement jobs or skilling for those who have lost jobs, the lack of an overall multi-year strategic plan to protect the sea line, the coastline. So all of those problems are problems that didn't start yesterday. It started 10 years ago, but nobody paid attention to it. And the current MP's defense is, I wrote a letter and they said it is central government, and I wrote a letter to central government and they said it is state government. And so that football between 2 partners of the INDA alliance has caused the problem that was a manageable problem 8 years ago to now being an absolute emergency. My view is that a port-led development is critical for Thiruvananthapuram. Singapore was a port-led development city. Vizhinjam can really be a force multiplier for Thiruvananthapuram. It can be a catalyst for the electronics manufacturing industry of the future in Thiruvananthapuram. However, the people that are displaced by the port and people that are impacted by the port's development must be given justice. They must be given jobs, they must be given skills to get jobs, they must be given rehabilitation abilities. This project has to become a beacon of inclusive development, sustainable development, not about exclusion or trampling on somebody's dreams. There is no question of the BJP outreaching only to Christians. I mean, I'll tell you about me. I speak to every citizen of Thiruvananthapuram as if he or she is the same as any other citizen, any other voter. So for me, whether he's a Christian or whether he or she is a Muslim, he or she is a Hindu, he or she is any community. For me, he is a stakeholder or she is a stakeholder in the future of Thiruvananthapuram. So that is how we look at it. It is true that certain communities have been poisoned in the head by the propaganda that we are anti some community. It is true that the Congress does it even in this election. Poisoning people and making voters afraid of the BJP has been an old strategy of the BJP, I mean the Congress and the left for many years. So to that extent, we go out to Christians and clarify. Now Manipur, for a long time they kept saying Manipur is about Hindu and Christians, and this was a campaign propagated and piloted by the Congress, including this incumbent MP who's a much read author and a much writer author and a very intellectual and so on and so forth, who should know what the facts are, should know what the truth and what the lie is. But he perpetuated the lie. And today, when we go and tell people that Metis and Cookies, the violence is more ethnic and more tribal, and that Metis have Christians and Cookies have Christians, Metis have had their churches burned and Cookies have had their churches burned. When the truth is put out there, people understand that this is a much deeper problem than just simply characterizing it lazily as a religious fight. What does that mean? What does that even mean?
I think that was the concern.
Whose concern was that? Nobody told me that there was a balance of Christians. Nobody said that. No, this is you are making it up. Nobody. This is all a narrative that is feeding off of Cookies had more Christians and therefore they are more Christian than Metis. So Metis Christian is not a Christian.
No,
so then what is that? So this is the bizarre absurdness of this argument. All those reports are a bit dubious. I don't know who does these reports. I am in the skill ministry and we track what is called the periodic labor force survey.
Yeah, it is based on that.
Yeah, the periodic labor force survey shows a steady decline from 2017 in unemployment. And as a matter of fact, not only is the steady decline of unemployment, but also higher and higher women labor force participation. So those are published data, and that is, you can Google and find it. Number one. Number two, unemployment is a average of state-wise employment. It is very clear, for example, Kerala has very high unemployment. Rajasthan under the Congress had very high unemployment. Madhya Pradesh had very high unemployment for a number of years. A huge program for digital literacy that has been going on for several years. It has covered, I think, almost 29-30 crore Indians. I don't have the exact number with me, but it's called Disha, PM Disha, and it is really about digital literacy. And digital literacy and the use of the internet today, we have 90 crore Indians using the internet. And a lot of them are not using it for Instagram and YouTube and Reels. They're using it for their subsidies, they're using it for their benefits, they're connecting with the government, they're using the India stack for health, for DigiLocker, for their documents. So I would argue, I don't have any published data, that digital literacy in India actually in the last 7 to 8 years has sharply risen. If you ask me, is it a 100% digitally literate country? Of course not. We are 140 crore Indians, and it is physically impossible to get all 140 crore Indians to be digitally literate in 8 to 10 years.